Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live and Eating the Elephant, where we talk to you, of course, every week on Wednesdays and Sundays about eating the elephant that is Hurricane Michael recovery. We break it into bite-sized pieces for you. And today, of course, I want to begin by wishing everybody out there on the Emerald Coast in Northwest Florida a happy Father's Day. I got to tell you, Father's Day is especially good. I'm doubly blessed on Father's Day for two reasons. Number one, being a dad is by far the best thing that I've ever done, and it's certainly been the most fun experience of my life. And happy Father's Day to my daughter, who's actually overseas right now. We seem to have developed a tradition of not being able to be together on Father's Day, but we always make up for it with good quality time. And the other reason I'm very, very blessed is because I have the best father that anybody could ever ask. He's the finest man I know without exception, and he's taught me an awful lot about how I'm supposed to behave in life. And I certainly wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today without his help, and of course my mother's as well. But happy Father's Day to all of you, especially to my dad and to my daughter. I usually try to keep these messages positive, but I got to get one thing off my chest. I realize that the people I'm talking to are probably not the ones that I need to be talking to, but I've developed a real pet peeve since the hurricane, and it's cigarette butts. And I know that sounds like a small thing, but it seems like a lot of the contractors we've got here from out of town smoke, and that's fine. If you want to smoke, that's okay with me. It's none of my business. But don't throw your butts out the window. Come on. It just makes me insane. I feel like we ought to be able to, pull out a bazooka and blow the back of somebody's tailgate off if I see that happen. I certainly wouldn't recommend going after somebody for something like that, but I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest, and it feels a little bit better. I do want to talk a little bit, of course, about repair work and recovery and insurance issues. And one thing I wanted to bring up today is that we've seen where inspectors who I've recommended for you in the past have really done a great job, and they've picked up some things that I think a normal roof inspection, even a well-done one, wouldn't necessarily come up. And public adjusters and attorneys, other people that are involved in your work, other than the contractor, there's nobody else that would pick this up. And we had a situation where somebody had roof damage, and they had a hole about the size of a steering wheel in their decking, and the roofer that came in just papered over it and shingled over it without replacing any of the broken decking. And it was not apparent if you just looked at it from the top, especially if you didn't get up on the roof. And the way it was discovered actually was that a home inspector was hired, which was great, and they climbed up in the attic. And hearing the guy tell the story was really funny, because he absolutely could not believe something like that would happen. That you would have somebody that just papers and shingles over blank space. Certainly if you're doing something like that, even if the paper's already been laid down and you're putting shingles, if your nails aren't hitting anything and they're not attaching to anything, then it's a pretty obvious problem, I would think. So again, I'm going to recommend a third-party inspector for all of you. As I've mentioned in the past, I've had one both here at the house and at the office, and as soon as all of my work is done at both of those places, I'm going to have that same inspector back out to look over things. We're starting to see some interesting things at my office. New little hitches and cracks and things have developed since the storm. So we're going to look at maybe seeing if we need to make a supplemental claim. And you'll notice we have a new backdrop. I wanted to do this because, frankly, we're making progress. What I'm getting for Father's Day is drywall and paint, and I'm very excited about that. And behind me, you can see my stairs are bare wood right now, because what we're going to do is, since we're doing a lot of hurricane work that's paid for by the insurance company, we're going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of other work that was probably overdue. And I know that some of you are doing that, particularly some of the business owners we deal with are taking an opportunity to upgrade some things. And I think if you go into any local business right now that has been open since the storm, or that has reopened since the storm, you're going to see that. You're going to see that they're all shined up. They've got new carpet. They've got new flooring. A lot of them have taken an opportunity to redesign their spaces and improve them, and I think that's going to be good for us in Bay County and in the surrounding areas for a very long time. So if you have that opportunity, great, and if not, I do hope you're making good progress with your project as it is. I've been asked some questions that I wanted to get back to, but I wanted to do my homework first, and it's about condo association fraud or misbehavior, I think, in general. And an old friend of mine, Sharon, somebody who our kids have known each other for quite some time, has asked a number of questions about that, so I wanted to get to it. And condo association fraud can take many, many forms. The only time we've seen it in our office post-hurricane is we had a situation where one of the board members of a condominium owners association, or COA, had the master policy and the contractor that was doing the work for the association. They agreed to vote for that person to do the work if they would do their condo unit restoration work for free. That's obviously a blatant conflict of interest. Whether or not it's fraud, I think, is a matter of law. It's certainly wrong, and it's certainly not something that would stand. And when it was discovered, lots of bad things happened. But if if condo association boards of directors or officers, if you feel like they're misbehaving or they're misusing funds, people I don't think are sure where to turn. And there's a lot of folks that own units here that are from out of town and from outside the state, but we do also have HOA folks and condo association folks that live here. The applicable statute, the thing that you probably need to read up on just a little bit, Statute 718 in the Florida statutes governs condos, and it's a long, ungodly, gangly statute. You don't want to read the whole thing, but 718.501 points out some very particular issues that I think you might want to read. It's a much shorter section, very digestible, and if you Google Florida Statute 718.501, that'll help you. The people you need to talk to if you have problems or if you have suspicions about condo association fraud or misbehavior by boards of directors is the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, or DBPR. They're the same people we've talked about if you're having to deal with the problem of a misbehaving contractor. And the way you can get to them is two ways. You can go to myfloridalicense.com, is all one word, myfloridalicense.com, and that'll take you to the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, where you can deal with condo or as well as contractor problems. With condos in particular, there's a lot of misunderstanding of what is right and wrong, and there's also a lot of, sometimes there's a lack of sophistication or experience on the part of board members who don't necessarily know what they're supposed to be doing. If that's the case, there is an arbitration service that DBPR will offer you. You can get sort of a neutral observer in the room. It's non-binding, but you can get someone to sort of look at both parties and talk to both parties in that situation. The other way you can get to them if you don't want to go online is call 800-226-9101. That's 800-226-9101, and you can report fraud or misdeeds there. And if you don't have any luck, if you somehow try one of those two options, you can't get there, then shoot me a message or an email, and I'll see if I can get you some additional help. The next question I want to get into is appraisal. I've mentioned appraisal before. There is an appraisal clause in most insurance policies. Matter of fact, almost every one I've ever seen. Appraisal is a very straightforward thing, but it is not like a real estate appraisal that you're probably accustomed to. If you bought your home and you borrowed money on it, you had to get an appraisal. That was a market value determination, and that's not at all the determination of value that we need to talk about when you're dealing with an insurance claim. The cost to rebuild a home is very different than the market value. Just as one example, the market value of the home includes the location, includes the land. The land value can be very substantial, particularly if you live on the water. And what we're talking about is what it actually costs to bang the nails into that house and get it back to where it was supposed to be. Arbitration, either you or your insurance company can invoke appraisal. It is a right that is shown in your policy. And what it means is you bring an appraiser or an estimator, someone that can, on your behalf, determine what the value is and what the cost to repair is going to be. The insurance company will do the same. They can also make determinations of coverage and their opinion as to whether things are covered or not. But this is more commonly done when you've just got numbers you don't agree with. You have come up with $170,000, or your contractor has said it's going to cost you $170,000. And your insurance company wants to pay you $110 because that's what their Xactimate software tells you. You don't have to just live with their number. We have to be fair, and you have to get the number that it takes to rebuild your home. Remember, the legal obligation of the insurance company is to pay you the value, to pay you the cost of repair within the policy limits, not what they think it should cost. So you can invoke appraisal. It's very quick. They get their guy to come up with their number. You get your guy to come up with his number. And either they get together and agree, which often happens. They can look and say, oh, well, I didn't notice that on my scope of work, and oh, I didn't realize that costs had changed in this particular part of the work or something like that. Materials costs certainly are up. If those guys can't get together, then they choose a neutral third-party umpire who is also an appraiser who can take those two sets of work and they can determine what the number is. And if any of those two or two of those three people come to the same number, it's over. The game is done. Frankly, it can be a very good idea for some people because it speeds the process along. You could invoke appraisal today and very well be done, even if it's a pretty substantial difference that you're looking at with your insurance company. You could be done in 45 days without a great deal of difficulty or without a whole lot of things having to go right. The one thing I would caution you about is that appraisal is binding. Once you go to appraisal and you decide that that's what you're going to do and you guys go through that process, the number that comes out at the end of that process is a number you're going to have to live with. Now, that's the disadvantage. So if it comes up lower than you think it needs to, that's something you need to use some caution about. However, the things that are good about appraisal are, number one, very, very low cost. You have to pay for your appraiser and you split with the insurance company the cost of the umpire if one is necessary, but you avoid legal fees, you avoid lots of wrangling in court and things such as that. Chances are you've already had stuff like inspections, engineering work, things like that. Those have already been done and paid for by the insurance company would be my guess, and so you wouldn't have to incur those costs again because the insurance company should have already paid for that. So that's the quick and dirty on appraisal. If you have more questions on that, I'm actually going to be attending a class here shortly about appraisal where I'm going to find out some more stuff. If you have specific questions about the appraisal process, how it works, any of the law involved, if you'll send me a message, either post them on our Facebook page or send me a direct message, that would be great, and I'll get you some answers here. And it's going to be in about 2 weeks when I attend this event. I want to close by reiterating something that I posted this week on Facebook, and that is everybody just cut yourself a break. I'm hearing from entirely too many people that I think are being way too hard on themselves, and they want to review mistakes they've made, and they want to kind of beat themselves up for things. I need to remind everybody that this is new to all of us. I'm deep in this game. I know insurance very, very well. I thought I knew a lot about hurricanes. I've done response. I've been on catastrophe recovery committees, and I have learned an immense amount, and I have certainly made my own mistakes. So if you've never been through anything like this before, you don't know how to build a house, and you don't understand insurance, it's only natural that you're going to make mistakes. But I've got to say, beating yourself up about them is completely counterproductive, and I really wish you wouldn't do that. I don't think it gets us anywhere. It only it tends to grind you down, and you tend to get into neutral, and you need to keep moving forward. What I would say is quit looking back. You can only move forward by looking forward, so just look forward. Whatever mistakes you made, you've got to chalk them up. If you can fix those mistakes, fix them. If you can't, just keep moving forward and learn your lesson. But you can't give up. That's not an option. And quit beating yourself up. Everybody has made mistakes here, and if you haven't, you are absolutely the exception to the rule. Again, as I open, I wish everybody a happy Father's Day, and I hope you have a really good day, and I hope you get a chance to spend some time with family, with your dad. Tell him hello for me, and we'll catch up with you on Wednesday.